So tell me about the day. What do you think about the day?
What do you mean, what do I think about the day? It's a beautiful day. Sun shining, balmy breeze.